So this is the new benchtop parts washer I've just got from SGS. I had my eyes on this for a while, but now that I've got all the stuff to clean that's coming off of that, I think it's now kind of justified itself in buying it. So it was around £50. I've not used it yet. As you can see, it's as new. I'm going to have a go at cleaning these calipers, which are pretty black, and one of them's also soaked in fork oil as well because the fork was leaking. So we're going to have a go at cleaning that in there, and I'll also show you what I'm using as like the cleaning chemical as well. So just as a reminder for what I'm going to use in the parts washer, hopefully you can see that. So I've just put the date that I've made the mix, and I'm going to use 2.4 litres of Surfex HD, which is a water-based degreaser, and 3.6 litres of DI water. So it'll work out at 40% strength. So I'm going to use that. Hopefully that's strong enough, because that'll mean that'll basically get a full use out of the Surfex bottle, the 5 litre one, for this mix, and then if I create a new mix in a year's time, I'll get another year out of it. And I've left a little bit left in there just for using in spray bottles and stuff. So all I'm going to do now I've got that on there is if I get that opened up. Now, the reason why I've chosen 6 litres is if I've calculated the volume right, it should be enough to cover that inlet on the pump. So it should be just enough, because I didn't want to make up too much fluid. So we'll see how we get on. So I never actually had enough DI water to do the mix I wanted, so I only used 3 litres, which means it's worked out at 44% strength, so slightly stronger. And you can see the inlet on the pump is covered, so it should be fine anyway. I just need to get like the grill cover back in. So I'll just bend that up. And it just kind of sits on this lip here. Right, so it's not been on before, but we'll give it. I'm going to switch it on. Here goes. Let me just see if I can. Right. So this splat, you can see there, it is quite powerful and it does kind of splash a little bit. But I did see online that some people use, I think they use like part of a sponge. So let me see what will happen if I cover this. Yeah, I think that's going to be better. So before we start, we should look at what sort of condition these calipers are in. So you can see the pistons that have pushed out slightly. I think this one's actually the cleaner of the two. And I had already had an attempt at cleaning them as well. Just using a spray bottle and a little sort of dish. So they were dirtier to start with, but you can see they are still pretty rough. So first of all, before I get the other glove on, I'm just going to turn this on and just start fit. That's probably the best way of doing it. One mistake I have made is it's pretty cold in Scotland just now. Therefore the cleaning fluid is pretty freezing as well, so it's pretty cold. So I'm just gonna now I'll try natural calipers. So in some ways it's kind of like a glorified sink which is something I could do because there's no water supply in the garage. And when you are trying to clean things that are pretty dirty like this, you end up creating quite a lot of mess. So let's see how they're looking. So this is how they look after cleaning. So bear in mind these calipers are pretty old, so the finish was never going to be great. Like the paint finish just looks pretty weathered, but I think they have cleaned up. They have cleaned up okay. They've taken off. It's taken off all the fork oil for sure. Some of the pistons aren't totally cleaned up, but that'll be probably really hard baked on brake dust. And with these, I think it's just some corrosion. It really needs a wire brush to get it off. But other than that, they've turned out okay. So back to the machine itself, the two main issues were the splashing up onto the sides and then over like the workbench and stuff, and it's round here, which I tried to fix by dampening the flow with that, but I actually think that the foam and the sponge was like absorbing a lot of the soap. I think if I get one that's just the scouring pad and get that over here, that'll dampen the flow enough without like absorbing any of the soap. So that'll probably address that. In hindsight, I probably would have made the mix slightly stronger than 44%, just for a bit more cleaning power. And the other thing is, this is a detailing brush, so it's got soft bristles and it's designed not to damage paint or anything like that. And I think it's maybe just a bit too soft for the type of cleaning that you would be doing with a parts washer, you know, like oils and greases and brake dust and stuff. So I'm going to need to investigate and see what type of brush people normally use that's a little bit more aggressive. But other than that, I think that was pretty good. Now I need to clean up all the mess I've made and do a bit of research on how to make this just a little bit better. Thanks for watching.